And I'm Bryn.
And we're from the Commonwealth Center for Holistic Herbalism. And we wanted to say Happy Labor Day. We were trying to think of plants that would be appropriate to talk about for Labor Day, and we thought about roses, because of bread and roses, of course. But we've already talked about rose. So then we were joking around and thinking about what would be the most laborious herb.
Like getting skunk cabbage roots by wandering into the swamp in February and pulling them up from the muck.
That would be pretty rough. But I think acorns really take the cake. Acorns, they need a lot of work.
There's a lot of work, yeah. So I personally have very limited experience with harvesting and processing acorns, but I did give it a try last year. And I think we have some photos of this. We'll try and put those up. But, I went and I gathered about a grocery bag, paper bag full of acorns. And then I brought them home and cracked them all open. And
it took like hours.
And so then, from that amount, I had about maybe a quart of nut meats. And then I dehydrated them. And then that was down to like maybe, I don't know, half a pint or something.
Oh wait, you had to like soak them in water a few times first.
Sure, yeah, you have to leach the acorns so that they're not so full of tannins that they give you a stomach cramp if you try to eat them. So you run them into water for a day, and then you dehydrate them, and then suddenly their volume is down to a very small amount, and then you powder them, and then I came away with like a quarter cup of acorn flour and made like 2 muffins, and they were really good. But I was definitely appreciating the amount of manual labor that goes into that work. Especially because I didn't even powder them with a mortar and pestle or whatever,
right.
A grinding stone. So, yeah.
And you had a nice like nutcracker to.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, acorns are historically very important for our part of the world. They were a major food source for people up here in the Northeast forests. They're really nutritive. The flour that you do get after you go through that whole process is delicious and really nutrient dense and everything. But yeah, it's a ton of work.
On the other hand, sometimes if you're a parent, you might be like, oh my goodness, my kid is running up the walls and I don't know what to do. Well, this is what they did with kids. Sit down, you're going to grind all these acorns.
Nice.
But it's very laborious.
Yeah, so we were appreciating that.
But oak is more than that.
Right.
Oak is, yes, hooray, food for humans and squirrels and all the little critters that like to eat the acorns. Mm-hmm. But oak is a whole community. There are, Rin will have to do the statistics because you were looking these up.
Oh, well, I heard Kathleen Myers say once that there's something like 100 different species of caterpillars that you might find in a single oak. Of course, there's lots of different birds that hang out in there, friendly squirrels and chipmunks and other things, and even plants. You'll see a big tall oak that has a place where the branch meets the main trunk, and there's like a little hollow in there, and some dirt has kind of collected somehow, and then a little seedling has fallen in, or a bird flew it in, and it takes root, and there's this tiny little tree growing out of the shoulder of another one, and you can just see how oak is a true, literal, and figurative pillar of community.
Yeah. And that seemed really appropriate for Labor Day. So you might also be thinking, well, that's great. I don't have time to, grind acorns into flour. But so what else can oak do for me? And then, ask not what your oak can do for you, but what you can do for your oak.
Yeah.
But oak actually can do lots of stuff for you. So oak is an astringent, and that's actually why, that's part of the reason that they are putting certain alcohols in oak barrels, is you get that tannin rich sort of the flavor of red wine, that kind of astringent but also like rich flavor.
Yeah, it adds body to the palate feel and all of that.
Yeah,
it's great. So astringents.
But that's actually you don't have to only have it in your alcohol. Although astringent medicine was so valued through history that I really wonder if that might not be part of the reason that they started using oak barrels to begin with, because they were trying to get those astringents more into their everyday lives. But if you just need an astringent, you can make tea out of the bark or the leaves. The leaves will be more mild, or the twigs even. And that's going to be great if you have gum problems or some inflammation in the mouth. Like right now, my braces are poking in a weird space, so I'm going to be drinking some astringent tea later today. But any kind of inflammation or irritation in the gums, that astringency will just help to take that red, irritated spot and just bring it back to its healthy place. And you can use that topically as well for varicose veins or any other kind of boggy, spongy, there's too much wetness here. Oak can really help with that.
Yeah. Boggy. Swampy.
Yeah.
When you got to squeeze that excess fluid out of there, when you've got to, one might say, drain the swamp a little bit, but for real, you know,
yeah.
like actually. And if you think about like what that phrase, you know, people have been kicking that around, and some of them with a lot more integrity than others. What that would actually mean is to like get rid of enormous corporate interests and things where people are trying to make a lot of money off of the backs of other people who really earned it. And if you wanted to do that, then yeah, you would need to squeeze some crap out of the way. And, you know, so I don't know, this is a really stretched metaphor here, but like, you can think about oak when you need to drain your own little swampiness, if you've got that going on in the gums or in the veins or wherever.
You know, actually, on the land in Royalston, oak really likes to live on the riverbanks.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really happy there, and then the beavers are, of course, really happy because they like to munch on it. But the funny thing is that the river itself, the brook there, is, the color of it is brown even after you run it through a ceramic filter. And the reason is that it's tea. It's oak, the brook itself is oak tea. So that's pretty, and probably hemlock and all the other roots also,
course, yeah.
But there's so much oak right along the banks, that water has become tea, which is so cool.
Yeah.
One of my favorite aspects of oak, though, I mean, the astringency is awesome, and I'm getting so much more interested in that as I look more and more at the way that people were working with that aspect historically.
For wound care, for, yeah.
So many things. But there's an emotional aspect to oak as well. And when I get to feeling like there's just too much depending on me, and you know, there's my daughter and my business, and even though it's hard to think of you know, taking care of people as a business, there's the school community, there's, you know, maybe my parents need some help, or maybe this or that, or, you know, family obligations, and when maybe I need to do some laundry, when everything around me just feels like I'm not strong enough to hold all these things up, that's when oak is really tremendous for me. When I want to be thinking about oak in my life, because it really is just so helpful when you have to bear a lot of weight, metaphorically. You know, like when there's a lot riding on you, a lot of people depending on you, oak is such amazing, wonderful support for that. And you can do that in lots of different ways. I have these oak leaf earrings that I love to wear, and you know that I'm starting to feel like, wow, I don't know if I can carry all this when I start wearing my oak leaf earrings, because that just reminds me, like, okay, no, I can be like an oak, I can do it. But anything from a nice glass of wine, because that wine is infused with oak, all the way to an oak flower essence. Any of these things would be fantastic. I'm not sure that an oak elixir would be exactly delicious. But you could, if you wanted to, use any of the alcohols that are like stored and aged in oak. You could use any of those to make tinctures of other plants that support you when you're feeling stressed out. Maybe that's tulsi, maybe that's elderflower. And then you've already got that oak aspect in the alcohol, and you're just adding in some extra stress relieving plants. And then you could make that into a nice elixir, or just have it as a tincture. But any of the ways, or whether you even just have an oak tree near you that is your friend, and when you're feeling like you just can't carry everything, You go and hang out with that oak tree for a little while and get some oak wisdom for yourself. Whatever method it is, oak is just an amazing emotional support in those kinds of times.
Yeah. So, Labor Day.
Oh, right. When you feel like you're laboring.
Right. Yeah. Whether you would like to do some hard physical work and get a nourishing reward for yourself out of that, or if you are a pillar of your community and you need to be able to stand up and hold yourself there and hold others, then maybe oak can help you with that. So we hope that you're getting a day off and that you get to enjoy it.
Yeah. This would be a great day to look up Utah Phillips and some of the other great, old Union rabble-rousers, and maybe take a look at some of the things that they said. Yeah.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed that little talk about oak, and we'll be back again next time.